on their watch. We'll be looking at the implication of these, and if it's the way forward. Then we're looking at a very key issue that concerns the people of the Southeast, where 50 reps had written to President Bola Tinubu pleading for Kanu's release, where the House of Representatives spread across the 6 geopolitical zones of the country under the aegis of concerned federal lawmakers for peace and security in the Southeast have appealed to the President to invoke Section 174 of the Constitution of Nigeria 1999 as amended, and Section 107 subsection 1 of the Administration of Criminal Justice Act of 2015 to release the leader of the indigenous people of Biafra. It's been said that these sections were also invoked when Sowore was let go of the hook. So we'll be looking at, can Mr. President reenact these evocation of those sections? On today's edition, for briefly, my co-anchor and my colleague in the studio here, Eddie Can Michael, will be joining me for us to look at these issues while we hopefully wait for the other guests to turn up as we look at very key issues. Let's begin. Eddie Can Michael, thank you for joining me.
Always a pleasure, Anthony.
All right, let's begin from the aviation sector, where Festus Keyamo has said extortion by government officials in terms of passengers is beyond the control of the ministry. Does that give us a clear picture of how much this has gone on and how deliberate it is by government officials to extort passengers, both Nigerians and foreigners?
I mean, what is really happening in the aviation sector, it's a long walk for the fact that where we are is not really what the ministry was, the minister was boasting of. The other time he was speaking to the press, he boasted of a lot of transformations and policies that he's bringing on board to see how we can transform the aviation sector of the country. But, in reality, we are still facing the fact that we are finding some of these repetitions of cases like extortion, delay by local flight and all of those issues that over times we've been hammering on. So for the aviation minister, he needs to understand that he has to be on ground. So he has to put a lot of checks, make a lot of policies, and put in a lot of personnel to be able to see how they can become a watchdog of the minister at the airport, at the different airports, both the international airport and the local airport. So it is more of away from the fact that in reality, the checks and balances at the airport is not there. The enforcement agencies are not doing their work. They have gotten compromised. You've seen a lot of even the immigration has to do extra work just to get some person apprehended for maybe wants illegal goods, movement of illegal properties or whatever to the country. The NDLA are doing a lot just to be able to apprehend, the drug pushers and all of that. So it therefore means that extortion is, the aviation sector has gotten deep corrupted, and the officials, right from those who are trying to get people on board in the ministries and all of those things, are not spared. So the minister needs to have a revamping of, the ministry, a revamping of the sector as the whole itself, so they can get in, the sanity you really want at the aviation sector. Because without this, it will still drag Nigeria backward and not brings, the transformation policy, if it's so wish that he has for Nigeria. So he has to really go back, put in a lot of enforcement, checks and balances in those sectors so that to arrest some of the situation that we're facing.
He talked about the fact that they will be working closely with the National Security Advisor on this matter, talking about the deliberate begging and extortion. Do you think it's down to poor welfare or salaries or the economic situation of the country that has led officials, government officials, to practically beg, those traveling and even devise means to extort travelers? Is it about the economic, or is it just an attitudinal issue? And is the National Security Advisor, can we trust them that they'll get the job done? These are persons who let the Binance executive slip through their hands. What's the guarantee?
Corruption is sitting deep into the country. You agree with me that there's absolutely no sector that we haven't heard of, even alleged issues of corruption. That can be linked to them. We've also seen that it has even come to the fact that even the judiciary are not to be, completely trusted when it has to do with, corruption. Because even with the fact that they've increased the allowances of some judges and other persons, have you really witnessed a change that, this increase of salaries has gotten to effect? No. So the reality is the fact that even when you increase salaries of these people, the practice has eaten deep So we need not just about issues of making improvement of welfareism and all of that. Two issues to look at. A rearrangement of what really Nigerians really perceived about public facilities. Because the moment where you understand that you are in the public, you are managing a public facility, and they are entrusting the part of this country to you to manage. You understand that they are give and takes of your actions. You represent the country. You are representing Nigeria as a whole. So many times you see that many Nigerians many foreigners really have a wrong impression about this country. It's about the people who they first have an encounter with, and they start from the airport. So extortion has eaten deep to the fact that it is part of them, and even if you have to increase their welfare or salaries, it won't help the situation. What rather will help the situation is about a total show of examples. Leading by example from the leaders. The moment when we know that our resources are well managed, because why do people indulge in extortions and corruption? It's because they fear of the unknown, they fear of tomorrow. So I have to do this because if my salary, will not be enough. Even if my salary will be enough, I just have to do this or be able to annex get a lot of riches for myself. So a lot of people are indulging in these activities because they fear of the unknown. So because the future is already, the country is already at the dying economy. So it definitely means that there are a group of people that are eating them. So everybody is just trying to eat out the country, eat out everything. So any means anybody have, you've seen the extortion by even the police on the road, you've seen different extortion by even every sector. Basically, you can go to the ministry today, you get extorted.
Let's look at the Hadi Sirika's case. Probably, can you say the government and the people have been living in denial? Because if the man at the top is already corrupt to have done that, scam the whole nation about Air Nigeria, should you be surprised what's happening in the aviation sector when the leader is even more corrupt?
It's a clear picture of what we are discussing.
So how can we trust the new administration that they're actually getting the job done if this is happening and he's just a year after, that's when he's getting notice of all this? Can we say probably they've just been interested in things that have to do with infrastructure, that has to do with purchasing and all that, there will be sort of something to take on rather than some of this very vital area of the administration of the aviation sector?
When you understand that, one of the issues that we keep on talking about and facing in this country is about leadership. We're having the wrong leadership, because leadership influences a lot. When you have a good leadership, everything falls well, because at the moment when you know that the leader is showing the example, you're able to follow the right. So most oftentimes we see ministers, we see people who are in the public offices, embezzling a lot of funds that they can't even account for. Look at the issue of Nigeria Air, a total scam. It's coming to scam the population of more than 200 million people, on the grounds of the fact that you're bringing an innovations and initiative. How do we get to trust the different ministries that will bring in lofty initiative? We've seen food for primary schools, a feeding program that have been embezzled, funds have been embezzled with the lofty ideas of a program. So we've seen that many programs that comes into the country are practically scam to embezzle funds. So we can't trust you. So the moment we understand that the few programs that we've had, the few structures that we've had in place, the few things that we've been able to have in place, the leadership that is being shown there is what will replicate Nigeria's trust on the system. But without that, we'll keep on having a reputation of Nigerians, getting to laugh over whatever effort we're doing. Look at what Keyamo is starting. He's trying to encourage local operations and all of that. But how well would it sustain?
But let's also look at the issue of putting the round peg in the round hole. Festus Keyamo, we know him to be a barrister at law.
He has business to do with aviation industry.
Is that some of the problems we are having when you put people who do their expertise are not necessarily in the field where they are? So where's the guarantee he will not be scammed alongside Nigerians in other sectors, because he can barely understand all the runnings of the aviation sector?
Yeah, we may give him doubt, because we've also seen in this country where people who have no knowledge about a particular sector and is in the managerial role that probably gets...
For example.
Exactly. So we've had antecedent of such a representation. So it's about even leadership. Keyamo hasn't proved. Look at the antecedent of Keyamo. His former ministry that he was managing. about recruitment of workers. I mean, there was a program that he was handling, some program for federal government to recruit, local and casual workers. Exactly. How sincere was the delivery of that program? So it's about antecedents. It's about the fact that Nigerians can point out to see that this is what you're able to do. Look at the FCT. In as much as you are trying to blame Wike for whatever, his political move and all of that, he's giving kudos. I mean, he's been giving kudos to, because of the fact that his antecedent has it that in Rivers State he did a lot of transformation, and now in FCT he's already showing the work away from just doing the talking. So it's about the antecedent of this person. It's not even about if you have an idea about to manage, because you have the directors from different departments to respond to you. You have the permanent secretary to make the work easier for you. All what you need is instruction and leadership. But the moment when you, as a minister, is already finding means on how to get some things allocated to the system and all of that. So even the directors who knows the job, who knows the sectors, who knows the department, who knows what to do, will start scamming you, and everybody will go into the sector, because from the workers, the permanent secretary, and everyone wants to embezzle the fund. So that's the problem. There's not a lot of investment to this sector, but nothing has been shown.
All right, let's move on to the next talking point. We're looking at the jackpot crisis, where the federal government is speaking tough, as President Bola Tinubu has directed that all civil servants drawing salaries from government after relocating abroad should be made to refund the money. The president also directed that supervisors, department of heads, those corporates must also be punished for aiding and abetting fraud under their watch. Let's look at what the president is saying. Yes, this is a good move by the presidency, but if we look at the presidency itself and all the fraud that has also been committed under their watch, the previous government and this present government, do you think government agencies, parastatals, heads of department will take the presidency that serious? Because we did hear about the 555 million scam, the humanitarian services, where Betta Edu did point accusing fingers technically to the Minister of Interior, the Chief of Staff of the government, talking about Frank Batabirila. But these two persons were not completely, brought out to, queried as regards what went wrong. And now he's querying those at the lower levels. How serious would they take, Mr. President? And is this a new thing that the presidency is shouting, foul about?
Again, another issue of poor leadership, because are they just waking up to the reality of the fact that we've had many civil servants who are operating from different countries and getting paid by the government? I mean, it has happened for many decades, as long as we can be able to trace issue of immigration and civil service. And this sometimes gives me worry not to even sympathize with Labour, because the lackadaisical attitude of some workers in the different ministries and sectors of this country is alarming. We've seen workers who doesn't even care to go to work. We've seen workers who doesn't even care to, deliver, just because of the fact that there's nothing really to do. We've seen I staff in a particular department. At the end of the day, there's only few hands who are doing the job. So, okay, let's just agree to the fact that, okay, fine, it's a problematic issue in the sector. How about leadership? We've seen how senators who are meant to be at the National Assembly, they not even attend third quarter of sitting that they're supposed to have in the National Assembly. We've seen House of Reps members traveling abroad, having more time, more vacation than appearance in the Senate and or in the House of the floor of the House. We've seen ministers who prior to the president giving ban to ministers to traveling abroad, staying outside to operate their ministries from it. So it has always been the issue of leadership. But when we come to the fact that we come to the terms that we've also seen president who stayed up, outside of the country, still holding to his office without giving, full powers to the vice president. We've seen that issue. So the moment where you see that you're still wrong in how you do your things, and the example you're showing, it's quite bad. The people will follow suit. But let's get it right. There must be an indoctrination to the fact that, you should get paid for what you're doing. I mean, I'm one of those who really, if they can advocate for pay as you go. Pay as you go. I don't want to put it. Because you are shortchanging the country. As a president, if you are traveling abroad for your medical treatment, please, the office will be operated by the vice president for a few 2 weeks that you're staying abroad. Your salary or your allowances should be shortchanged. You cannot be going to your own personal stuff and see, sitting down on the locations and the wages of workers of the economy. As a minister, if you want to travel the same. As a senator, you should be paid as you sit in the National Assembly. It should be on the sitting. That should be the total description of the sitting allowances. So until we get it right with this operation, the workers will start getting up. But let it be that as a mayor. It's a good move to start addressing this issue.
But do you think it's going to what are expectations in this directive the president has given? Do you think it's going to see the light of day? Knowing fully well that lots of people will be found wanting, even those at the top.
Those who have connections, there are many of them who are abroad. They have connection with the minister. They have connection with the permanent secretary. So the permanent secretary will cover those, and those who doesn't have anyone, at the will go down for it. That's the truth. It's about issue of knowing, because for you to even travel, for you to even have the audacity to leave the country and still getting salary, somewhere, either in the Ministry of Finance or whatever, you've had the connections of getting your way down to it. So some of these Nigerians will be covered at the end of the day, and those who doesn't have anyone will go down for it. But it don't need to be that what you're doing to Mr. A is also what you're doing to Mr. B. Because what is good for the goods is also good for the granddads. It should be operational to every sector. It should be workable for everywhere. So at that moment, Nigerians will want to know that whatever policy you are making to them is not just about them, it's about the standard you are setting. So the standard must be practiced, must be seen, must be visible by all sectors. House of Representatives, by National Assembly, everywhere. Executive, judiciary, and everyone should be able to comply to this reality that this is a standard we want to save Nigeria's economy. You can't get paid and then you are subtaining the country.
In all of this, we know that the financial institutions, the banks, they have a role to play. Even if these monies are not paying directly into the account of the civil servants abroad, they are paid into their bank accounts in Nigeria. And they also would somehow transfer these monies to their foreign accounts. Can't we also hold the banks responsible to an extent? Can the bank be absolved of not knowing that these monies are being used?
Yeah. I mean, when you understand some, I think issues of privacy, I mean, sometimes I feel the banks may be limited because there are some issues of privacy, because there are some level of funds. These are over maybe 200,000 you're talking of. These are 500,000. So banks are not really much paying attention to 500,000 or a million transactions, or as the case may be, as the level one may be. So sometimes even the EFCC are not even looking at all those guys. They're looking at who is transferring 2 billion from this other account to the other account. They're looking at the big funds and all of that. So, but if at the moment where we can be able to strengthen some of the policies of the banking sector that can regulate, Nigeria's transaction, and as a matter of fact, it won't just be implicated to the workers. It will have a ripple effect also in business and purchases and all of that. So it might be a long walk for government and for banks to get it on. But the point is, we should start getting digitalized. I mean, services of government should be digitalized. At the moment you are going to work, you have a thumb printing. In NYSC, there's what they call thumb printing every month. A core member who doesn't thumb print will not get salary or allowances that they get to core members at the end of the month. The scheme of digitalizing to that level. So how can't we have different digital machines at the different ministries, different agencies and parasata? At the National Assembly, we also have that the senator comes in and thumb print. At the end of the 30 days, the machine automatically will get to calculate the days you'll be able to attend to, appear at work. At the end of the day, you can be able to change your salary. At that level, the Ministry of Finance will now use that as a working template for payment. So by this, it shows that there's accountability, a structure on the ground. But without a structure, going after those who are already jacked by, it will not solve the issue, because whosoever has the backing of, as I said, permanent secretary or director or an area officials will get away with it. But if it must be an institutionality where you know someone, you don't know anyone, if the law the policies will automatically be effective to everyone. That's when we can be able to get it right.
But are you also worried, as we leave this talking point, that the government seems to have given up on making Nigerians stop this jackpot syndrome by just saying those who relocate should not get, rather than say, okay, why are these people moving? Even when it has to do with ministries and agencies. Does that tell us how bad the situation is? Initially, we were talking about the health sector, medical professionals leaving. Now it's also affecting the civil service. We've
seen that many directors in ministries, leaving the country. So one was arguing, if a director of the ministry is leaving the country, how much more who doesn't even have anything, who doesn't even have any steps to hold on. So at the end of the day, so you see that the issue of Jagba is for every. I mean, it's automatically it has become a national issue where people are not even having a second thought about it. If you announce a visa to anyone in Nigeria, the person is thanking you to thank even the members of your family and everyone in your lineage just because of a visa. So it's not becoming a thing of pride for Nigerians. It's not even an issue of choice. It's not an issue of okay, let me go for studies and I'll return and all of that. So it's now a matter of decision. We've seen bankers, top bank managers who leave the job, to go abroad, to become cleaners and supermarket, attendants and all of that. So we've seen people doing that. What works is the fact that at this country, from what we've seen and from what we know, that the moment you work, the funds you get, you are able to live a good life. The future of your children and your kids are kind of being secured. So there's an assurance of tomorrow. So when you look at what workers, if you look at the issue of living wage that are glamorous,
the insecurity in the country,
the fact that this thing can't even they can't send their kids to school, go so with the salaries they are able to get. So you look at the issue of affairism as well. So it shows clearly that they are not sure of what they are getting, that they are spending over 35 years just because of this. At the end of the day, this can even secure your future, your health, and the chocolates of members of your family. So government must understand that they should design a frame that must encourage people to stay and work. Because at the moment we are losing a lot of these populations and many Nigerians on the grounds of Jagba, it will have a ripple effect tomorrow. I understand that we are being proud of our population. Sometimes that is why they are not bothered about those that are the influx of people that are going out. But at the end of the day, it will definitely have an effect. Because what happens if this country start reviewing their policies to send back some people back home? So you understand how we will be able to have many returnees. Are we not afraid of such policy by US or UK government and all of that? So they should start walking the talk.
All right, start walking the talk. Let's move to the next talking point, and we're looking at the Kanu release is the kicker there, where 50 reps President Bola Tinubu pleading for Nnamdi Kanu's release. The House of Representatives spread across 6 geopolitical zones of the country under the aegis of concerned federal lawmakers for peace in the south and security for the southeast has appealed to Mr. President to invoke the Section 174 of the Constitution of Nigeria 1999 as amended and Section 107 subsection 1 of the Administration of Criminal Justice Act 2015 to release the leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, Nnamdi Kanu, from custody of the DSS. The lawmakers elected on the platform of different political parties in a letter dated June 19, 2024, Mr. President to move to address the insecurity challenges in the southeast. Let's look at the 50 lawmakers. It's spread. You see from Abia, from Imo, from Yobe, from Kaduna, from Borno, from Rivers, from Anambra, Kogi, there too. And the fact that 50 and spread across the country is that not a positive political solution in the making? And we also know that Mr. President did invoke these sections 107 and 174 subsection 1 when he let go Shorore, who was charged for felony also, which is equating to what Kanu is going through. Shouldn't the president be quick to answer these prayers?
Exactly. Issue of Kanu, we've seen Kanu has recently spoke at the court that he's not instigating. He
condemned the killings.
The actions of the killing, that is not still instigating all of that. Why government kept him in the custody of DSS, even with the constant, court order granting him bail and all of that, has been the fact that, they just want to know, if he still has a way of trying to still influence that process. But, the issue has not been dealt with completely. So it is also coming out to the grounds that out of court settlement, negotiation to end these agitations and this issue is a way forward. It's not Tinubu's government that held him. It was about multiple administration. So they might have their own political interests as adherent to hold Kanu. But if Kanu is trying to be reasonable with government, I can now come in to negotiate out of court. And then it's time for government to start paying attention to the agitations of the people of Southeast and what Kanu is really advocating for. the issue of political inclusion must be a matter of concern. They have been moved by the same House of Reps to move for a 6-year term of around the 6th geopolitical zone. It might be considered by the government. So at the end of the day, we see that the issue of presidency and power sharing is being generally solved with. So Kanu might probably watch his hand out of some of this agitation, or it might also be a move just to get his freedom. But whatever happens at the end of the day, it shows that government is paying attention to what the people are saying, because it's not just about House of Reps that have come out to plead. We've seen communiques from many Southeast conferences still agitating for the president to grant freedom to Kanu. We've seen many interventions by some groups to draw the attention of the president to grant freedom to Kanu. So the presidency, listening to him, is a way forward. Negotiation is a way forward, because at the end of the day, we can't use conflict and war to address many issues. Sometimes you have to deploy diplomacy in negotiation so you can get an ending peace to this, because it's quite disturbing. The peace, the economy, prosperity and development of the people of Southeast have been stopped because of these activities. Many lives of our security force members have gone because of this issue. So it's high time they really sit down. Nnamdi Kanu, what do you really want? What is the problem? What South is saying? Can we start solving the problem? Can we start giving body language of finding solutions to this issue? I think this might also give away.
Well, the people of Southeast have said May 30th should be recognized as a Biafran Day, as a way of immortalizing and appreciating Nigerians who died during that civil war, and also the issue of more states for the people of the Southeast. Are these two things too much for the other regions of the country to accept and give to the people of Southeast as a way to show them appreciation, as a way of embracing them, and probably trying to suit that heart of what played out after the Civil War, and the fact that the people of Southeast have not really felt welcomed and loved?
Yeah, when you talk of Nigeria's unity, Ojukwu once said that unity is not just about describing unity; it's about showing unity itself. So, how do we really show unity in this regard? In the fact that the most concern, the priority for them is providing, also producing the Southeastern president. So, what has been the issue? Political party, because you cannot be a president from your home. You cannot be a president from Abga. The major political parties we have in this country, PDP, APC, and now the Labour Party, emerging Labour Party. So the working of these political parties will also show that there is a move and there's a consideration to start getting this thing done. I think at that moment, issue of declaring a day for them to commemorate, their agitations or the exercise and all of that, it's nothing for government. But do we declare this to be national? Because at that moment, you understand that it's not everybody in Nigeria that is sharing on the sentiment of the Biafra movement. So
we're talking about people in Nigeria. The Biafran shouldn't now represent just the Southeast.
But people are not recognizing Biafra.
But Nigerians that were killed in the Civil War.
They are not fighting. Maybe they can make out the declarations on many other descriptions, but government, I think, don't want to associate themselves with anything that has to do with Biafra. These are the people that have come out very clear to have their own logo, to have their own anthem, to have their own, motto, vision, and all of that. So the moment where you are recognizing, that, it seems like you are providing some legal, justifications, to their operation. But this is not what government wants to say. So if they want to come out of the day, we want to mourn those, we want to remember those who lost their life in the process of their agitation for freedom. Government can find a way of going about it. But when you want to see bringing the issue of Biafra, you are forcing, the people of Southeast have constantly been forcing this issue, Biafra, on many Nigerians. We've seen state and many people who doesn't want this imposition. So the moment we are trying to bring that as a sentiment will be the fact that you are trying to force this on government, and government doesn't want to share on that sentiment. But away from that issue, there are silent, questions that they need to provide answers to. What is the people of Southeast really want? I think the issue of political, representation at the presidency. They want to have the feel of what it means to be a president. We've had a South president, we've had a Southwest president, we've had a Northwest president, we've had many, the regions having a test of the president away from the South side. So I think, for me, if they really want to stabilize the unity of this country, so we can address this issue of repetition of many decades of war against representation, they should get it done and start showing the work from the political party.
Finally, for that talking point, do you think the political, because at a point the governors of the Southeast were not completely forceful in terms of showing their support for Nnamdi Kanu. Do you think this is the time we need to see the Southeast governors come out
Absolutely.
To show more support, civil society organizations, and also the other 5 geopolitical zones in the country come out to show support for the people of Southeast as a way of motivating them, making them feel wanted by the rest of the country.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's about that movement, because we've seen many governors who were scared that it was a political...
it's going to be a political ritual.
It will indict them politically and all of that. We've seen, governor in Imo State coming out to, reject, denounce such movement and all of that, just because he wants to see a whole, relevance to the political system and all of that. So I think at that moment, it shows that government and governors we are trying to just shy away from, the topical issues. They know where the problem is. They know the pains of the people. These are the people that are, that are representing a good number of the population of this Southeast. So they understand that it's also affecting them, because declaring Monday sit at home, it made a lot of economic implications to that movement and all of that. So they know the pains. But right now, I feel by the move of the fact that Kanu have considered, out of court settlement, it's a good move for them to also join the voices of the House of Reps to see how they can come, Mr. President, who is innocent of how he was arrested, away from the fact that he's only he's now a president in a time where he wants peace in the whole region. Southeast is not the only part of this country that is facing, insecurity. But away from that, can we start paying attention to what they really want? Because if we don't answer that, it will be a shamble. It will be, a repetition of exercises that will not in any way, after some years or after a government, have a productive result to the people.
All right, the people of Southeast must come out with what they truly want so that the rest of the country can embrace. Already we know that they want more states for the people of the Southeast, and they want a taste of the presidency, and also those who died during the Civil War to be recognized, compensated if possible, as a way of reconciliation, true and genuine reconciliation on the part of the Nigerian state. All right, let's move on into the health sector, where something very disturbing is still going on. The chairman of the Forum of Health Commissioners in Nigeria, Dr. Oyebanji Filani, has said that 22 states have received test kits and other materials from the federal government following the recent cholera outbreak in some parts of the country. This was as the Lagos State recorded 500 suspected cholera cases as the government has scrambled to contain its spread. Nigeria is experiencing a significant cholera outbreak, with the Nigerian Center for Disease Control and Prevention reporting over 1,528 suspected cases in 31 states. Meanwhile, the outbreak has notably affected Lagos, Bayelsa, Zamfara, Abia, Cross River, Bauchi, Delta, Katsina, Imo, and Nasarawa State. The primary cause has been linked to the consumption of contaminated water and inadequate sanitation exacerbated by the onset of the rainy season, which often leads to increased cholera cases due to flooding and compromised water sources. Looking at this issue of cholera, it does probably expose more that the Ministry of Water Resources and the entire infrastructure in our water system is not top-notch, because we shouldn't, by this era, still have the issue of contaminated water, even when we have treatment plants across the country, and the issue of hygiene. And the NCDC, we seem to only get into action when there's an epidemic such as this.
Yeah, issue of a kind of a response by government when you have outbreaks like this also shows the fact that Nigeria's health sector is well prepared, to always have a response to many outbreaks. So cholera has been lingered for some times now in the country. Right now, we're already confirming cases, over 500 in Lagos. We've seen a lot of response attempted by the government of Lagos State to address this issue. But away from that, why are we having those causes? The root causes of it has to do with water and all of that. So does
contaminated water. Yeah.
So from when I was in school, water was to be colorless, tasteless, and all of this. That was the description of a good water. But it seems Lagos, probably because of the overpopulation, or would I say the issues of land, landscaping and all of that. We've seen in Highland, where it's like where the VIPs really stayed, the water that has been drilled out from that area is not a description of a good water. water. So we find it that there need for, away from the fact that we have industries, factories who are even producing water. This is even questionable. So government must start putting facilities that must treat water for the people of Lagos. The issue of borehole was what government will be providing as a dam. So I don't know how, this has also addressed the issue of the fact that we also have people in Lagos who are not even living at the region where they have, good water. So what are the attempts of government? What are the facilities of government? What are the structure of government to get these things arrested? So away from the fact that we're facing this, it's also a clarion call for many state governors, local government chairman representation to start seeing what they can be able to do to provide water, because water is life. So the moment where what we are taking in and drinking in is not, clean, is not sustainable in our system, then there's a big question on the road to be. It's saddening that we've having this heat over. We've
got 25 to 30 lives lost already. We've
lost life in this implication, and these are the people that have even confirmed about those who are still walking on the street of Lagos, based on that population we have in Lagos, that are not yet to confirm. These are also information managed by government, because they know the kind of information to release out to the public. So because sometimes the
government
with the truth. So if you are telling us 500, it means that it is more than 500.
Okay, let's look at the issue of the deaf and also the issue of NCDC saying now 31 states are already involved, and now some states have gotten kits, testing kits. Do you think at times there exists deliberate attempt by NCDC or medical aid to let things escalate so that they have reasons to source funds and become very active and become very prominent in the scale of things? We saw that happen during the Ebola period. Can we say that's what is playing out with the number of deaths? As of last week, we were told 25 persons had died, and now that the cases have also doubled now, but there was no report of death. What does that tell us? And for the NCDC, are you very impressed?
NCDC have really
they usually do have branches across the states. How come the response is kind of slow in states?
Anthony, NCDC has reduced themselves to church and bell lawyers, because these are the people who are just waiting, for an emergency to occur so that they can start taking advantage of any government. Can we start asking them about the intervention funds we had during COVID? About the location we have from World Bank? About private organizations, foreign private organizations who sent in some support to Nigeria in response to Ebola. What is the sustainability of the many facilities that we've had in this country that were built by NCDC? What is the commission or what is the body doing? What has been their response after Ebola from that time till now in respect to managing outbreaks of diseases? So are they just having to respond to the fact that we have this? The preparedness is very poor. But you have been empowered to check. You have been empowered to be at the front door of
being proactive
ahead of outbreaks. If you are sitting down like normal hospitals, there is nothing wrong with having clinics and hospitals in the country.
Since we already know it's every rainy season.
Exactly. So it is more of trying to bring statistics to world government, to also push a lot of allocations to them again. But then again, it's also time for states to start managing, as a matter of fact, start managing their health system. We can't put the hope of many Nigerians, the lives of many Nigerians, on the hands of the NCDC to decide for us. I'm not panicked about their data, but I think state has a role to play. Different Ministry of Health in different states must start, championing the cause of trying to get this thing done. Because if we want to sit down here and wait for NCDC to start getting allocation from the federal government, it is another way of embezzling the little $500 million that World Bank have released to Nigeria to deal on other issues to go into the health. So we do not want that political descriptions of the health, but we just want a situation whereby they can be able to address some of these issues properly and for the interests of this country, not for their own personal aggrandizement.
All right, from the health sector, let's go to another sector that means a lot to Nigerian workers and the Nigerian people. We're talking about the national new minimum wage. It's still causing ripples across the country as the organized labor has urged President Bola Tinubu to consider consulting and reaching an agreement with the leadership before transmitting the proposed bill on the new minimum wage to the National Assembly. This was what the union admitted that as much anticipated meeting with the National Executive has been stalled because the President is yet to send the bill to the National Assembly. How key is this? First of all, during Democracy Day, Mr. President said something that the Labour did refute when he said they had reached an agreement with the Labour as regards a new decent national minimum wage, and Labour came out strongly after 24 hours to say they never had an agreement with the federal government, and now Labour is giving a strong warning again, saying government must pass through their leadership before sending this bill to the National Assembly. That is already spoiling for war.
Issue of minimum wage has been, recall that the last time that they embarked on a strike, they gave federal government 1 week, and you agree with the fact that with the lapses that 1 week notice for government, if they do not respond, that they will go back to strike. The president has said that they're already transmitting it to the National Assembly. How much? Until now, we've not confirmed the figure of the transmission to the National Assembly. Are you doing this behind the workers at the moment where we now hear from the National Assembly, Labour will start kicking again? Are they trying to also put Nigeria at the situation where they can only be waiting for the president to declare? Because this was the issue why you set up a tripartite committee for negotiation. So you're waiting for their report as the president. Have the tripartite committee been submitted a workable result? You understand that they submitted 62,000, but part of the negotiators, the Labour, kicked against this issue of 62,000. And you sent, I won't say they sent, but governors came out the other time to kick against even the 62,000 that they cannot even pay 60,000 hours.
And made the local government tier of government to also make their own complaints.
So make their own complaints. So we start inciting people against the workers. So it was a political move. But at the end of the day, it's the Nigerian workers, who knows where it pens. They said, you know where it pens. You know where it pinches. So it showed a showdown for workers to understand that this is their fight, and I think they will not relent on that. But be that as it may, I'm also advocating for the fact that, yes, I understand that the economy is not sustainable to pay what Labour are looking for. But can we start paying attention to the fact that a worker in FCT, a worker in Lagos, can't be the same worker in Edo, can't be the same worker in Akwa Ibom? Can we make it the fact that
customize minimum wage?
Can we customize minimum wage? Because I cannot pay house rents and live with a family in Abuja and Lagos, paying over 400,000 at least for a civil servant or 500,000, the case may be, and compare my life to a worker
who is 200,000
in his father's house, or the house his great-grandfather had built for many years and staying there, or even staying in the city, which is affordable at 100,000, 50,000, you can get a house and all of that. So these are the issues that we must also pay attention to, because it is a silent issue. You can't impose a minimum wage on a state who is struggling or who is having less of internal generating revenue to a state like Lagos. And Lagos, as a matter of fact, shouldn't even be complaining of 250,000. As a matter of fact, there should be those who are championing to pay what Labour are looking for. Abuja should also lead by example. Minister of FCT should understand that the workers here, or the federal government should understand that the workers here are paying so much, from the transportation issues to the accommodation issues and all of that. So these are the silent issues the president must consider, because I've also seen that part of the issue. But if they cannot make in uniform, if they cannot customize the issue of minimum wage, they should start making also allocation to state, so that they can be able to pay quietly. We've seen governors coming out to say they do not, the allocation is not enough to carry out project, talk less of paying workers. But we are seeing commissioners and those in government and governors taking a lot of security votes at the end of the day.
Do you think this is a grand finale we're likely to see?
Exactly.
If the president decides to continue with his plan of sending the bill without negotiating with Labour, and do you think Labour can find a way around this if the presidency decides to continue with his plan?
Yeah, if the president can have a good backdoor negotiation with the Labour. We've seen many leaders of organizations getting to give up at that table, because I understand what it means, for the president to, hold on to that. There are so many factors, because this is what they told the coordinating minister of economy, to look at the cost implication of paying workers the over 62,000. And probably he was advised strongly to agree on that. But be as it may, you should go down to see how you can talk well with the leaders, because at the end of the day, these are the people that champions the cause of the many Nigerian workers. And I feel we may be able to have his way if we have brown envelopes at the end of the day.
All right, let's quickly, as we wrap up, just a quick one where it's been said that the federal government has spent a total of $15.55 billion on debt servicing between 2019 and 2024. According to the latest data from the Central Bank of Nigeria, in 2019, Nigeria paid $588.33 million in debt service between January and May, while the payment for 2020 was $5.40 billion. The debt servicing payment continued to rise in subsequent years, with $2.02 billion paid in 2021 and $2.34 billion in 2022 and $3.43 billion in 2023. Between January and May 2024, the country has paid $2.18 billion in debt services, according to the CBN's data. This is a 270.9% increase compared to the first 5 months of 2019, which was $588.33 million, and the $2.18 billion in May 2024 is nearing half of the $4.8 billion projected by Fitch Ratings for the year. Let's look at the issue of the rising, debts, servicing of debt Nigeria is going through. And we're seeing more borrowing by this present-day government. Within 1 year of government, we've seen massive borrowing. Is this not suicidal for the generations unborn? And the fact that Nigeria is not producing yet, and our refineries are still not all working in full capacity, are we likely to see Nigeria melt down, economically speaking, somewhere along the line due to this huge debt burden on the country?
The danger of it is staring on our faces, because at the moment where we have now the statistics and debt of Nigeria is quite very alarming. And it's sad because even the World Bank every day is still to be so
willing to borrow as well.
Always willing to borrow. So and sometimes I'm bothered, because these are the people who should have rather help us to see how they can rescue what we are already owing. But many times IMF will come out with their different statistics advising Nigeria on what to do and all of that. At the end of the day, some of these investments, some of the advice are not having effect on the economy. So it shows that the fact that our economy is now supposed to be more local. We have to start localizing what we can practice to get things done. And these are the issues. Issue of cost of governance that we have been glamoring for over times and many times by political office holders must be adhered to, because you cannot in any way keep on embezzling such fund, having a lot of grant for yourself. I mean, look at your statistics, changing the country from budgeting and all of that just for your own personal goods. At the end of the day, it still falls back to reflect on the people. So there must be a drastic steps by government to cut cost of governance. Issues of production. We are importing, even at too peak. I mean, the least many things you can actually talk of, we are still importing into this country. Our exchange rate is quite very alarming. We are having more dollars in the country than the naira. So giving strength to the dollar. So these are the issues, because we are not producing. So we should start paying attention to some of these things, start producing, so that you can actually help the economy. Without that, we keep on borrowing. And the question has always been, what are you borrowing for? What are the facilities that you are putting these borrowings in? At the end of the day, we see some careless programs and initiatives of government just to be able to get their fund. Of recent, we've seen statistics from about 2009 to date that many governments are now appreciating airports to be like a new flyover just because of the embezzlement. You've seen many states are now utilizing the airport they have built for many years. And look at the statistics of over sometimes 60 billion just to build an airport and all of that. These are sometimes the funds are going to. So if they don't start paying attention in addressing this issue, we'll keep on facing, all of these crises.
All right, time not our friend. That's why we're going to call it a wrap on today's edition. Just to let you know that the cost of living has made Nigerians borrow 3.9 trillion naira as the economy bites harder. That's the statistics we're getting from the Central Bank of Nigeria. On that note, we're going to call it a wrap. I want to say a big thank you to my co-anchor in the studio, Eddie Ken Michael, for his very grand and deep analysis of all the big talking points we shared with you today on the program, The Desk. My name is Anthony Momodu saying thank you for being part of the program. Good evening.